recap of some kind of where medicine was when Silkworth broke into the field, and a little bit of recapping his biography. Silkworth graduates from Princeton in 1896. 3 years later, he graduates medical school from New York, Bellevue, in 1899. Okay, so 124 years ago, the guy, graduates, medical school, goes into practice. In 1919, he goes to the Presbyterian Hospital in New York and works there at the Neurological Institute, and really develops an affinity for working with drunks. 10 years later, he's discharged from the hospital through no fault of his own, but 1929, there's a gigantic economic crisis in the country and then in the world, the stock market crash of 1929. Silkworth is penniless at this point. We're not exactly sure when he starts at the Towns Hospital that Heidi showed us. It's either 1930, 1933. We're not exactly certain, but we'll call it 1930. Most folks agree on that. And let me couch where this man in 1930 is in terms of the medical community. Graduates medical school in 1899. Aspirin is first synthesized in 1900. The next year, it's patented by Bayer and distributed. This is the first real patented serious painkiller that this doctor has 1 year after graduating medical school. It's not for another decade and a half during his practice, post-medical school, that viruses are discovered. Sulfa drugs are not discovered until the 1930s. Vitamins are not really known about or really discovered until the 20s and 30s. While radium was discovered the year prior to his graduation from medical school, radiologists began treating patients with this new form of treatment. And in the first half of the 20th century, and certainly the first quarter, kill more patients than benefit from it. 1937, when the first letter is written, we first see the first blood bank come up. So I just kind of want to couch his presence at Towns Hospital in the 30s within the framework of this is medicine that doesn't know very much compared to what we know today. And that's obviously looking in the rearview mirror. But rearview mirror is fun to look through. Last week, I posed 3 questions. We did kind of play around with them as a group with the first 2 questions. And the first question was, why are there 2 separate letters from Silkworth? Second question, what's the purpose of the last sentence in the first letter, which is, you can trust anything these guys in AA say. Why is it there? What are the implications of that? The third question that I posed, we really didn't mess around with, and I'm hoping that we're going to get to play with tonight. And the question is, how might the crash of 1929 have any significance on Silkworth, and I would add on Bill Wilson, but in particular on Silkworth's 2 letters? So I'm really curious about that and getting a little heretical about both Wilson and Silkworth. We know that Wilson was a salesman. He understood the value of third-party testimonials. So he reaches out to a medical professional and a guy who has had loads and loads of experience working with addicts and drunks. Silkworth's employment at Towns Hospital, while he refers in the second letter to ultra-modern scientific standards, that is absolute nonsense. The scientific method is not employed by Silkworth, certainly not by Towns, who was not a physician, but really more of a grifter. I'm going to use my word, a charlatan. He invents the belladonna cure, claims to have cured 90% of Chinese opiate addicts when our government sends him over to China to study the problem and to work with it, and claims a 90% success rate at working at Towns with alcoholics and drunks, predicated on no research, but the fact that 90% of the people that went through his belladonna cure